Hey, do you mind paying for this? I don't have any cash.
Sure, I'll just put it on my credit card. I'm never going to pay it back anyway. 'Cause I have $30,000 in credit card debt. When they call, I tell them I can't pay it back yet.
Tell me about it. Who is not in credit card debt? The way things are going, seems the only way to survive is through credit cards. But how long can we truly survive like this?
I have such a shopping addiction that this is how I'm cutting myself off. Even my card doesn't want me to stop it. Come on, come on.
I have $6,300 in minimum payments. You heard that.
How in the world can someone reach $6,300 a month in payments? At that point, you should file for bankruptcy before you get a heart attack.
I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but if you are currently putting the majority of your paycheck into a high-yield savings account because some financial guru on TikTok told you to do it, and now you can't pay off your high-interest credit card debt because you've done that, you're not winning. You are most likely losing between 10 and 20% of every single paycheck just on that interest. Always pay down your high-interest credit card debt before doing anything else with your money. And I don't know about you, but I like having my money work for me, not for one of the major credit card companies.
He is absolutely right. Paying off your credit cards should be your priority. If not, you can end up like the lady from the last clip. Don't drown yourself into debt.
I have one more hot take. Credit card debt is not normal. I feel like people make a joke out of it on this app. I get it. If you are in between jobs, you are struggling, and you genuinely need to accumulate credit card debt. This is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about people that go out to dinners, go on vacation. I feel like there's a lot of young, impressionable people on this app, and I want you guys to know that it is not normal. I talk to my friends. We do not have credit card debt. It is not funny. Unfortunately, real life is real. Living within your means is so much better.
Remember, credit cards are only for emergencies, not to fund your vacation.
In the US for new cars is $667. The average credit card debt is over $5,000. Average mortgage debt is $220,000. The average auto loan debt and lease is over $20,000. And the average student loan debt is over $30,000. Moral of the story is the next time you see someone living their dream life, keep in mind they're likely a part of that average. There are people nowadays that live above their means and they have to pay for it through massive debt. I don't know about you, but I'm almost 30 and I'm in no rush to be house poor. I got no debt to my name and I want to keep it that way.
The amount of money people owe is insane. I understand if you are struggling financially, but don't try to keep up with Jones because sooner or later you will have to pay for your consequences.
America's drowning in debt and they're trying to vote TikTok off. Fantastic. America's debt is controlled by 4 to 5 credit card companies. There's a vote right now to break all that up and allow other people in instead of having the monopoly on just those 4 to 5 credit card companies. The reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because this is yet another issue that the government could be focusing on instead of more than a 90% bipartisan attack on an app. America, we don't like these wars happening. We definitely don't like spending hundreds of billions of dollars on these wars. Or how about the billions and trillions of dollars in debt that we are? And the trillions of dollars in debt in credit card debt. Take a look at the Credit Card Competition Act.
This man has a point. We should be focusing on major issues, especially the debt this country is in. Now let's check this clip from ABC, talking about how much debt we are in right now.
And Americans are taking on more debt, $17.5 trillion overall. 1.13 trillion of that is a record amount, and it's on credit cards. Plus, more people are falling behind on their payments because despite the strong jobs market, consumers are facing higher prices and much higher interest rates. So take a look at this. In just the last 2 years, the typical credit card has gone from 14.5% APR to now 21.5% APR. So let's say you're carrying a $1,000 balance on your credit card. 2 years ago, if you were making minimum payments, it would have cost you $729 in interest to pay it off. At today's rates, you are paying almost $1,200 in interest. That is a nearly $500 difference. So there are...
Next time you think of using your credit card, make sure to check how high your APR is. Because as you can see, credit card companies are raising their interest rate. and this will only drown you more in debt.
According to a new report, Americans are struggling with surging debt. Not only are balances reaching new highs, but also the number of people who aren't keeping up. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York reports American credit card debt has now reached $1.14 trillion. That's up 48% from 2021. And household debt, which also includes mortgages and auto loans, is up to $17.8 trillion. That's up 26% from 2021. Now, all this is connected to inflation in more ways than one. Inflation hit an all-time high of just over 9% in 2022, which prompted the Federal Reserve to start a campaign to slow it down. And that included raising interest rates. Since then, inflation has gone back down to 2.9% most recently, but Americans are still paying higher prices than 3 years ago. As a result, fewer people are keeping up with their bills. In the last 12 months, 9.1% of credit card balances have fallen into delinquency.
Even though inflation has gone down, you can see from the last clip that credit card debt just keeps rising, which means it is probably higher today than what you just saw. But check this next clip, how the younger generation is being affected.
So according to that report last year, the average credit card balance for 22 to 24-year-olds was, 26% higher than the average balance of this Gen Z, the millennials back in 2013. What does this mean?
Yeah, it means that notion of the American dream that a lot of us grew up with, if we worked hard, if we went to college, if we did the right thing, we'd be able to live a reasonable life. It gets further and further away. So you have a lot of things that have come together in the last decade, 2 decades. Loosened credit card restrictions after the pandemic, inflation averaging around 2.7% a year. Wages haven't kept up with that until recently. And you get this revenge spending also coming out of the pandemic, the YOLO effect, where I'm just going to do it. I don't know what's going to happen next, so I'm going to spend today and enjoy my life. That plus just higher interest rates. That's what's behind this.
You younger people, don't try to YOLO your life away, because you will regret it later in life. The last thing you want is to end homeless, because trust me, that won't be fun at all. I am sorry to say, but the American dream is harder to obtain by the year.
But if nobody's going to tell you, listen here right now, don't you try to keep up with the Joneses trying to fly out, get flued out, pretend like you get these people pretending they get flued out. Just stop, because you're going to find yourself in a place where you can't get out, and nobody wants to be 10 feet under that.
Ever wondered why my savings account is basically empty and I have 5 figures of credit card debt? This is it right here. So this is what 60 pairs of shoes look like. And shamefully, I think only like 5 of these pairs are under $300. Okay, let's say under 200. That one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Those are the only pairs that are under $200. Oh, and then my Birkenstocks back there too. Oh, and my Bass loafers right there. But everything else is over $200. Most of them are over $500.
Ladies, if this is you, please stop buying crazy amounts of shoes that are over $200. Stop falling into this trap that you have to compete with others on who was more. I mean, if you really need this many shoes, at least buy at Ross or when they are on special. This is another reason why women are in debt. The good thing about men is we usually only have 2 or 4 pairs of shoes. We are simple. Well, most of us are. So men who are married, careful with impulse spending from your wife. And I'm not saying all women are like this. Some women are responsible when shopping. That is why they go to Target to save. But men have impulse buying alcohol. So men, it goes to you as well.
Actually, budgeting doesn't always mean that you're going to be spending within your means or that you won't accumulate debt, because you cannot budget your way out of not making enough money. And unfortunately, those of us who have found ourselves in debt, it was simply because we didn't have the money to pay for the things we needed at the time, so we used credit. And I have no shame in that, and I refuse to have shame in that. A lot of us were affected by the pandemic, and not just that. It doesn't even have to be something as major as a car accident or medical emergency or student loan debt. Like, shit happens throughout our lives. We're here for quite a few decades. We're not always going to be able to pay for every last thing out of pocket. Yes, you can budget, you can have your savings, you can invest, you can have your 401k, and hopefully that works out. Like, that's my plan, hoping for the best. But shit happens, and I will never forget that. I also go out of my way to try to make more and more and more money as the cost of living increases, because like I said at the beginning, you cannot budget your way out of not making enough money.
Yes, shit happens. Who else agrees? It is understandable when crazy events happen in your life, and you have no control over them. Then of course, if credit is your last option to survive, then you must do it, while you find a solution.
You don't pay any interest unless you don't pay off your credit card whenever your bill is due. But with a cash advance, when you've taken money out, like actual cash out from your credit card, that interest starts adding up every single day, and it is huge. The only time I think this actually makes sense to do would be like a literal emergency, like you're trapped in a foreign country, you have no friends or family, and you need $10 out to pay a cab driver or else, and nothing else is working. None of your cards are working. Maybe, but if you're tempted to use a cash advance in everyday life, definitely go into the bank and see what other options you have, either a personal loan or a line of credit. Those are such better options.
I hope you heard. To never get cash advance on your credit cards, because the interest is way higher, and it is only to be used under extreme circumstances. This is why it is so important to know how credit cards work, instead of wasting time on silly videos that lower your IQ.
So if you're anything like me, just a normal person with a normal job in this shit-ass economy that can't afford anything these days except your bare necessities, then you've slacked on paying some of your bills. And that's okay. This is a no judgment zone because I haven't paid all my bills either, and I'm really slacking, especially on my credit card bills. And I'm going to keep it real. I don't give a shit about shit I bought last year or 6 months ago or when I swiped the credit card. I don't fucking care. Thanks for letting me have that stuff. I don't have the money to pay you back right now.
One of my biggest pet peeves with financial planners and advisors, whether or not they're professional or amateur ones here on TikTok or on blogs or whatever, is that they treat credit card debt like a sin, right? Like a personal failing. And they give the same advice, which I can't believe people pay for, because to me it's like obvious and you can find literally everywhere, which is pay off your credit card balance every month. If you can't, make sure that you stay under 30% of your credit limit. Invest in EFTs, and index funds. Make sure that you have an emergency fund of at least $1,000 and ideally 3 months like salary. Like, we know this. Everyone knows this. You are not enlightening anybody. Listen, I've had a budget for the last 15 years that I've dutifully followed. I bought like one TV in the last 15 years. I haven't left the country to go on vacation in the last 15 years. I bought one laptop in that time. The biggest personal luxury I've allotted myself are my Sony headphones, which I kind of need for work anyway. But what did I do? Well, I made the mortal sin of deciding to have children, in my 20s. Big mistake. And also, I guess, not being a doctor or a lawyer or some sort of entrepreneurial hustler. Because I can tell you, as someone who is dutifully budgeted, as someone who has a nice stable job, budgets don't make money appear. They don't increase your income. And sometimes you just have to go into credit card debt. And this idea that it's a choice, and obviously some people they need financial help. They need help planning, help budgeting. I'm not saying that's not the case. But assuming that everyone who has credit card debt is like a financially stupid person is insulting, and it's just not true, and it's not helpful. So until we remove the stigma of credit card debt, financial planners are kind of useless for the vast majority of people. You're kind of not helping.
This is so true. Even if you budget your money, you can still go into debt, because everything gets more expensive every year. But your income stays the same, or you get like a 25-cent raise if you're lucky, which means you need to start a business or take a second job. But what kind of life is that? What do you think?
If you're $7,000 in credit card debt, the first thing you're going to do is take those cards, find a shredder, and shred them immediately.
Love it. I know your credit card bill is high. Okay, so listen to me. Lock in. This is how we're going to save money and also get that dopamine hit, because oftentimes we don't really want the thing. We want the dopamine we've attached to it. Oh no, I love a list, and this is my list titled Impulse Avoidance, and here's how it goes. So this is the thing that I wanted, the thing that I almost impulse bought, added to cart, almost checked out. The day that I found it or added it to cart, and then how much it was. If your list gets long like mine, you're not going to shame yourself, right? Because we live in an age where we're constantly being sold to. That is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to make sure you keep yourself in track for your financial goals. At the end of the month, my date here is wrong. You're going to add up this entire column of everything it would have cost. This month alone, and the month is not over, I almost impulse bought $750 worth of stuff. So at the end of the month, whatever my number adds up to, I'm going to divide it in half. Half is going to go into savings. Half I'm going to do whatever I want with. Half is important because you're honoring your commitment to save and then also rewarding yourself for that. And that is where the dopamine hit comes.
This could work for some people, and if it does, that is great. But for others, you should change your mindset to get your needs first before your wants. Especially during this economy, you might have to sacrifice a few years before you can start living like a rock star.
To have a conversation about debt because a video came up on my For You page today. It was this person explaining all of the debt that they have, and I started reading through the comments, and so many people were like, why are Americans in so much debt? And then they were saying things like, do people just not pay attention to their finances? Are people just oblivious to how much they're spending? And I just think that we need to have an honest conversation. I don't think that's a correct evaluation about debt, and I think that we need to have a more honest conversation about why people are actually in debt. Are there people who are in massive amounts of credit card debt because they spent really recklessly and they were just, living a lifestyle they couldn't afford? Yes, absolutely. But so many people are also in credit card debt out of absolute necessity. They had groceries they needed to buy, or bills they needed to pay, or there was an emergency, their car broke down, things like that, and they had no other option. Reality is the majority of people don't actually have an emergency fund, so if something happens when they have an emergency, they actually don't have the cash to pay for it. And the only other option, which logically makes sense, is to put it on a credit card and hope that you can pay it off by the end of the next month. And the reality is that if you have a big expense, the odds of you being able to pay it off at the end of the next month are slim. And then there are other people that like to go into the whole conversation about student loan debt, and we need to pay attention to the fact that so many people are sold the idea that college is the only way to succeed in America. Luckily, I went to a high school where it was a tech vocational high school, so it was never like college is the way. It is college or going into the workforce, whichever one is right for you. Just make sure you're prepared for that phase of your life and you're doing what you need to do to get ready for that. But there are so many people in the US and high schools where college is the only way that they are told they can succeed, and they believe that that is something they must do if they don't want to be broke and unhappy for the rest of their life. So they take out loans to cover the cost because, again, they're sold this idea that once they graduate, they'll have a job paying them enough money to pay off those loans, no problem. And then they graduate, they don't get that job, and now they have debt up to their eyeballs and they don't know what to do. Yes, is there this element of people being financially irresponsible and ending up in debt? Yes, but I just feel like the conversation around debt can get so nasty when we're not realizing the entire scope. And I don't think it's a fair evaluation to say everyone with debt must be super irresponsible. Like, take a second to look back at a bird's eye view and look at the systemic issues that are causing people to go into debt before you judge someone for the debt that they have.
She does have a point on college. Many believe college is the only way to succeed in life. But if you are thinking about going to college and you know it will get you in debt, please make sure that you are studying something that actually requires a degree. Most jobs out there, you don't need a degree to make a good money, but you do need good connections to get in. After one graduated from college, I was not able to get a job in my field because companies cared more about job experience than a piece of paper.
If I have learned anything about the vibration of money, is that it is an avoidant. It is an avoidant energy, and if you try to chase it too much, it's gonna run away from you. So when I start like working and striving because of the money, like if I start posting content specifically out of scarcity, like I need the money, I need the money, I need the clients, I need da-da-da. Or if I'm going out to coffee or to breakfast or to get food and I'm looking at the price tags, if I'm obsessively looking at money and focusing on money, it runs away from me. But if I go to the grocery store and I don't look at the price tags of things, my balance is actually probably $100 cheaper than it is when I'm looking at the price tags of things. And when I post content just because I love to post this and it makes me feel good and I'm not thinking about the financial income of that, then money starts pouring in.
Apparently the vibration of money is not on my side when I'm shopping without looking at the prices. If anyone is doing this and is actually working, please let us know in the comments on how you do this. That would be great for all of us.
I saw a video of a gal talking about how normalizing credit card debt is extremely irresponsible, and as someone who has had credit card debt, has friends with credit card debt, and sees like the grander scope of the issue, I want to put my 2 cents in, because this is not an individual issue, this is a systematic issue. These credit card companies are predatory on people who do not have financial literacy, are predatory on people who need the money now. They are set up to exploit these people. It would be a different conversation if we were taught in high school, the school that we are all required to go to, If we were taught financial literacy, how to do our taxes, how to manage money, that would be very different. But that is not the case. This education and information is kept from people intentionally in order to prey upon them. So I think this idea of, oh, well, it's just the individual's problem that they're in credit card debt. No, not necessarily. Given the current situation, look at the US government. The US government is in astronomical amounts of debt. Why is it a bad thing?
We really need to enforce financial classes to be taught in schools, instead of this useless classes that will not prepare our future generations. No wonder these new kids are already in debt.
I used my credit cards to fill a void in my heart, and now I have $14,000 worth of credit cards to pay off. It wasn't until this year, 2024, that I decided that I was going to try to pay off these credit cards, be done with them, and I was going to take this debt payoff journey seriously. Up until this year, I was hoping a rich man would come rescue me. I am aware of how dumb that sounds, but I'm trying to be completely honest and transparent with you guys. Even though my credit cards created a shroud of shame around me, and I didn't want to date, and I didn't want to gain friends, I yet still went on dating apps to go on dates in hopes of meeting a rich man that would fall in love with me madly and did not care about my credit card debt and would just take it on, and he wouldn't care. And that sounds incredibly dumb to say out loud, but it's the truth. And now I am going to take my debt journey seriously. I cannot rely on somebody else to help me or help me get out of this in any capacity. I need to do the work, not only because it's my responsibility to do the work, it'll be so much more rewarding, and it will teach me a tough lesson once I am out of this.
I am curious, would any rich man take on someone's debt, or would they think twice about it? And from what I see, most men don't even want to get married.
If you're in your 20s and you keep consistently seeing people and you like, oh my God, how are they doing all this? How are they affording all of this? Blah, blah, blah. And you're really confused and you're trying to figure it out, is really one of two, maybe even three options. The first option is credit card debt. Maybe they swiping them cards. They swiping that card. They probably have $30,000 right now in credit card debt. But they're in Bora Bora. Absolutely. The second is rich parents. Don't ever underestimate the power of a rich parent. The third is they might be scamming. They might. Small might. And then the fourth, absolute and final, is that they're really just getting to the money. But that's very low on the total pole. It's probably credit card debt.
This is why I tell you to not try to compare to others, because most likely they are deep in debt. Just because they have fancy cars and clothes, it does not mean they are balling. They just want that attention, so they can feel special. But how long can they keep that lifestyle?
I don't think that it's worth living to just pay a credit card. I should be able to do a little stuff here and there.
Do you think the only reason you're living is to pay off the credit card? I want you to attack it now, so by the time you're 35, you never have to pay a credit card again. So you you're on for a month because, ooh, it's my birthday month. Woo! You're extending this situation for years and years to come. You're preventing yourself from getting out of it. You're preventing yourself from ever having enough saved up for retirement so that you can survive, so you're not working in your 80s in order to afford rent because you never saved up enough money to put a down payment on a house. And who knows what Social Security is going to be like when we retire. We can't rely on that. People can barely rely on it now.
I get it. We all need a vacation from time to time. But stressing over your bills won't even let you relax. Because when you go on vacation, you will be thinking of all the debt you have to pay. There is so many things you can do that don't require so much money. The problem is everyone wants to live like a celebrity.
This is a real conversation that I had with one of my friends when I was in university about her credit card, and I still think about this once a week. I have to pay off my credit card. It's like $700 this month. That sucks. What do you mean your credit card bill is $700? Like I just bought all my textbooks and stuff, so I have to pay off my credit card like it's $700. My credit card bill has never been over $10. What? Yeah, like you only have to pay the $10. What do you mean it's only 10? What do you mean you're only paying $10? Like, every month you get the bill and you only have to pay $10. It doesn't matter how much you put on. It's literally, you just have to pay the $10. How long have you had this credit card for? Since first year? We're in our third year university. Do people not know that? Do people not know that? People of TikTok, people of the internet, just know, like, please, just pay in full.
You always want to pay in full or more than your minimum payment. If you pay $10 a month, you're probably just barely paying the interest it has accumulated and probably take you more than 10 years to pay it back. You are literally throwing money down the drain.
Thing that I will never do, and no judgment to anyone who does this, I'm just saying it's something I would never do, is finance a vacation. So basically, before we even leave, before we even book, I already have the cash, it's already earmarked, and I will use a card to book the airline tickets, to book the hotel. But as soon as the charge hits my account, I'm going in and I'm paying it off in full. And the main reason why I do it this way is because, you know, when I go on vacation, I want it to be a relaxing experience. Not only relaxing while I'm there, but also when I come home, you know, I want to be refreshed. I want to be stress-free. I want to like live off of this high for as long as possible. And for me personally, if I leave a relaxing vacation and come home to thousands of dollars of debt with no way to really pay it off, it's almost like the vacation is null and void, because now I'm stressing about that. This kind of reminds me of this time years ago. I was in a restaurant and our waitress, she was working there part-time in the evenings and on the weekends, and we got to talking, and she was saying how the reason why she had this part-time job is because she did, I think it was like 2 or 3 months in Europe, and she had put everything on a credit card. So now she was working to pay off the charges. And if you were to ask her if it was worth it doing it that way, she probably would say yes. But I just know, me personally, it would stress me out.
She is so right. You want your credit card to work for you, so you can earn those extra points to use for trips. The only way you should be using your credit card is to be able to pay your bill in full, so you don't pay interest and earn points or discounts for using your cars.
Okay, I wanted to answer this question about how I got into $15,000 worth of credit card debt because I've been getting it a lot. I feel like some people are going to be like, this is basic knowledge, but to me, it wasn't basic knowledge, which is why I wish someone drilled this into my brain and I actually listened. The first is I had zero financial literacy at all. My family never talked about money. I come from a super poor single mom family, and money just wasn't ever talked about because we had none of it. And I never took any classes in high school that taught you about finances. I don't even know if there were any. The next is that I always considered my available credit as money that I could spend or money that I had. I distinctly remember buying like a laptop and furniture because I was like, oh, I don't have the money on my debit card, but I have it on my credit card so I can spend it. Which, looking back, is ridiculous, but back then it felt like free money. I always only paid the minimum payments on my credit cards. Whether it was like $100 or $25, I was like, okay, as long as I do that, I'm fine. When it really clicked for me was when my financial advisor told me that if I continued paying $150 on each card, it would take me 9 years and $17,000 worth of pure interest to pay it off. It would cost me $17,000. But if I increased my payments to $350 and $450, it would take me 1 year and it would only cost me $3,000 in interest, which is so much of a difference. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to get my shit together. Another is that I always increased my credit card limits when I was offered it, which is basically just a big trick because they know you're gonna fuck up. So I'd increase the limit, spend all the way up until that new limit, and then I just maxed out more money. And the last one is I just swiped carelessly. I never cared what I spent it on. I just always spent money on it because to me it was just money that I had, even though it was not money I had. I can't believe I'm even admitting this stuff because looking back, it feels so dumb. Even to my financial advisor, I was so embarrassed to tell him this. And I'm absolutely certain that some of the reactions I'm going to get are not going to be kind, but I think there needs to be way more financial transparency around people who don't know shit about money like me. I'm 25 years old, I work a corporate job, and I'm working on paying down my debt. I've got the $15,000 down to $11,000, and I'm working really hard on getting it down to zero.
This is why it is so important to shift your mindset from thinking like the average Americans and start learning how the wealthy use their money. Taking classes in finance will be a great investment. Just take some time to learn the basics. You might not become rich, but at least you will learn to manage your money and avoid debt, or at least keep it under control.
I just took out a loan for basic needs and food. Like, needs/food. I have never in my life had to take out a loan for the things that my home needs. I had to make the decision of gas or food, or somehow budget it and split that and get a little bit of gas and get a little bit of food until I get paid again. I said, there's no way. I cannot do this. I need to have a little bit more for gas and I need to have enough food. So Affirm has, its thing with Sam's Club. I was like, fuck it. Let's just take out a loan for our basic needs. I feel like this is not okay. This is not okay. We're fucked.
If you need to use credit cards to pay your basic needs, then you really need to see what you can do to fix this. Maybe you can move with a family member or a friend and split the rent. Maybe you need to move to another state or country. But you cannot just keep doing what you are doing right now and expect a different result.
Please stay out of debt as much as you can, dude, because I am drowning. I keep getting myself in these situations to the point I can't get myself out of it. I can, but I have to work 2 or 3 times harder just to get myself back afloat. So, backstory, I was in school and I lived on my credit cards. And so my mom, she helped me by paying them off in like full. So I'm like, good, bam. So now, fast forward to now, bro, I have got myself in the same position and I don't even know how. Like, I don't even know how I came about spending this money. I don't know where it's going. I'm looking at my credit cards like, what did I even spend this on? So now, because I like to invest my money. I want to invest my money. I want to put my money somewhere else, but I don't even have the luxury to do that because I got to work 2 or 3 times harder just to pay my credit cards off, then put my money to the side to invest. So now I'm going backwards rather than continuing to going forward. So it's just so frustrating, bro. And I'm just sitting here like pulling my hair out, stressing over it. Bro, I didn't even have to go through this. It just creeped up on me out of no fucking where. And I just like don't know. Bro, do anybody else know how to manage their money? Because I'm over here drowning. Drowning. And I'm trying to stay, bro, get myself up. And it's so frustrating, bro. So learn from me. Please stay out of credit card debt. If you have any recommendations for me, bro, please let me know because yeah, boy, definitely is stressing over here.
There are 4 things that will help you stay out of debt. First, learn how money works. It is very important. You need to learn the rules to the game. Second, you need discipline to not fall into the temptation of spending on everything you want. You should only be getting something you want if you have been putting money on the side for it. Third, you need to be able to sacrifice. Even if you are not living comfortably the first year, there are people who live in their cars in order to pay off their debt and then save that money in order to buy a house or invest it. If you are not willing to put in work and sacrifice, I'm sorry, but you will always be in the same situation.
$140,000 of debt right now. $133,000 is student loans, and I told myself I'm going to pay off $25,000 by my 25th birthday this September. And today I'm going to pay off my first loan of $7,333.75. I thought I'd be sad to part way with this money, but honestly, I only feel relieved. Literally, look at that balance. I want to cry. Okay, this is the loan. $3 is the payoff amount. It's done. $7,300 down, and so that makes my goal $17,667 until my 25th birthday.
Pre-pandemic, my husband and I would have about $2,000 on our credit cards at any given time, and it was mostly like extras, right? So like, oh, we're gonna go out to eat, we'll put it on the credit card, or like, oh, we're gonna go to a concert, we'll put it on the credit card, back when a concert could be $60, $80. Our monthly payments were about $100 a month, and it really didn't make or break us. Then the pandemic happened, and my husband lost his salary, and while we were like making less money, everything has become incrementally more expensive. I had a baby and wasn't able to go back to work for a year, so I was putting basically all of our groceries, all of our gas, all of our necessities onto credit cards because you can't pay rent with a credit card. So we would have to use his paychecks for rent and anything else that couldn't be put on a credit card, and then we'd put everything else on the credit cards. I grew up very comfortably middle class, so I do tend to think that like spending money on things like a dance class or like experiences is normal, but I've like completely walked that back since everything's become so expensive. Like truly, we have not done anything outside of just pay for our needs. But we are $30,000 worth in debt from the credit cards. They've turned into loans, and they're about $1,200 a month that we're paying off.
You guys make me so sad. Like, some of you don't realize like you're ruining your own life. Like, if you would just change your habits, if you just change your mindset, if you would just say no to yourself for once in your damn life, you would have the potential to get into a better financial situation so you could live the life you want. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. Keep doing what you're doing and let me know how that's working.
I hope you have learned something today. The economy is not getting any better, so don't rely on others to save you. If you are not going to learn from other people's mistakes or your own, and you keep this style of just using credit cards to survive, you will be under so much stress that you will have a mental breakdown. And if you have a family, you can end up alone. All I ask is don't give up. You need to think outside the box. If you need to sacrifice going out for a few years, just do it. The last thing you want is to end up homeless and all alone. So remember, shift your mindset and achieve greatness.